What is happening, fellow fantasy GMs? I'm JJ Wang. He's the bearded one, DJ Dub. And our powers combined, we are Fantasy Couriers.
What is up, JJ Wang? How you doing today?
Good, good. How you?
Oh, I had a great week. I got to go to my favorite place on earth. I'm wearing my 4-H camp t-shirt. Spent a week with my wife and daughter at camp. That's my first love, one of my first jobs, actually my first job I ever had. So I got to spend a week in the hills and the mountains, not too far from you actually.
Yeah, he was what, 10 minutes away, probably. It's right around the corner. So you've been doing that what, 25 years?
Well, I figured out more than that. Yeah, no, you're probably close. I figured out no longer. My first year at camp was 1989. How about that? So I'm getting that was as a little kid. So I was working there professionally since 1998, off and on during times. Did it for a year. So it was my first love. I met my wife there. Actually proposed there. So we call our kids 4-H camp babies. And
Oh, nice.
as we're recording, my son and wife are back there doing a camp for little kids. And so yeah, it's been a good week. But I've been trying my darndest to keep up with the fantasy stuff this week. I was back. It's in the country and nobody has signal except for my carrier. So it was great. Everybody, I was laughing at people. They're like, my phone doesn't work. I got 5 bars. I was able to keep up, and we'll talk about some of the news I saw. I didn't keep up as good as I should have, but I did see on Wednesday that the Fantasy Couriers posted and was quite excited about that.
Oh yeah. I was always excited about that. It's good times. We got a lot to get into today. Probably jump back into our versus series. What's the topic we got today?
Oh, I'm jumping even. We're jumping even more. We got some exciting news too for everybody. We are going to have a contest.
Oh,
We
that's
have had tons of people that want to. They're like, "Hey, can I get on your show?" And we're like, "Well, what can we do?" So, here is our first contest we're going to have. You're not going to win anything, but you can get some airtime if you'd like to spend a little time hanging out with the Fantasy Couriers. We're going to do a keep stash trash segment with 2 lucky winners. All you got to do is you've got to post a question on one of our locations. You can go, we just started up a Twitter page. We have written absolutely nothing, but it exists. And they'll pop up on the screen if you're watching, but the Twitter handle is at Couriers Fantasy. If you can't spell that, then go on to our email, thefantasycouriers@gmail.com. You can like us or send a message on Facebook just look up for the Fantasy Couriers. You'll see us there, as well as you'll see our awesome new logo. Hopefully y'all are enjoying that popping up on your screen. I think it looks much better than our blurry screenshot.
way better than the other one.
And finally, we have 7 followers, 7 subscribers on YouTube, which is the highlight of our day. You could make a comment on YouTube or a question on YouTube.
I'd like to get that number up to 10 next
Ooh.
week after this episode. So let's see what we can do.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll probably for about 2 weeks run this. Anybody that writes a question, anybody that writes us a question to use on the show, we will jot down your handle or name, and we will put it into I can do a random generator online, and those 2 people will get to come do about a 10 minute segment where we'll name some guys that we should keep, stash, or trash. So once again, thanks to all who are listening. Share with your friends, and to our friends, stop trying to trade us the guys we're talking about on this segment. I've gotten some garbage trades for guys you think I like because I talk about them, and you'll notice today sometimes I don't like the guys I talk about.
It's all a big ploy just to see what we can. Maybe we're trying to go the other way with it, trying to talk bad about guys so we can get those guys on a cheaper deal. Maybe.
It could be. We try to do you all good, so don't try to do us bad. Just because I've talked about guys in the past. Come on, I did bite on a Gerald Everett trade the other week, but what can you do?
Yeah.
It was a one tight end league.
Yeah.
So back to your versus segment. Yeah, you're talking about a little versus segment. I've talked too long. Get us into the versus segment today, dude.
Yeah. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go with the zero RB versus the heavy RB way of building your team. I prefer so this is kind of just, I guess it kind of depends on how you want to build your team. Like obviously, like when we're talking redraft, which is about the season we're about to get into, I like to go heavier. I mean, I'll go first 3 rounds, all RBs, just because you never know how long they're going to last, and then build my wide receivers later on. But like if we're going to if on the dynasty side of it, I love doing the zero, or I won't even draft an RB until round 10. And I just think they're easily replaceable. I'll just make sure I got my quarterbacks, my wide receivers, and then I'm in it for the long haul. So those guys are going to be playing the longest. And I feel like the scouting department that I got, over here with me, I can find me a good running back somewhere along the line.
I'm a I love zero RB theory. I jumped on that train the other year when it became popular, and that was because RBs really stunk. I'm still stuck sort of in between the zero and heavy RB. Zero RB is a fun challenge to go with when you're looking at redraft. That means that, but the thing is, it comes down to draft position. If I am drafting and I'm one of the top five, there is no way that I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to do zero RB. I need to be later in the draft. So if I'm looking later in the draft, I'll be like, okay, it's 10 and 11. Do I want Tyreek? Heck yeah, I'll get Tyreek, or probably smarter because I was going to say followed up with Kelsey. Do I want Tyreek and Kelsey? Maybe. It's too many eggs in one basket. I would take them both if they're there. But if you start out with Tyreek and Kelsey, the thing then is, do I want some mid-tier running back when it comes back to me in the third, or do I just keep going power receivers, receivers, receivers? I was listening to a pod the other week, and they said if you end up going that way, do not take a running back until it hurts.
Oh yeah.
Then wait another round.
I mean, that's the key to zero RB. I mean, it's not like zero RB isn't taking a running back in the sixth round. Zero RB is waiting till like that 11th and 12th round. By then, I don't even know what Ramondre Stevenson at that point is that going to be your RB1?
No, it's more of the scat backs.
The scat backs, Michael Carter maybe somebody like that. So like I said, especially if it's redraft and you're trying to win right now, I would find it very difficult to win in a zero RB strategy in redraft. I mean, because those running backs are just so important. There's not a lot to go around. About a third round, I mean, it's already skim pickings by the third round. So I got to make sure I get as many as possible.
Yeah, I usually roll with something in between zero and heavy. When we started talking about this, I was like, yeah, I'm all about the zero RB. But looking back farther, I think I am somewhere in between. I've almost went to where I'm at best player available kind of drafting. And I wouldn't mind walking away at the end of the first round. You're still looking at some decent running backs. Up until about this week, you would have said, hey, I'm looking at Tyreek Hill and Cam Akers.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Tyreek Hill. Yeah, that's but you're looking at one of the younger running backs that has a big step up that you can hit. So it's almost never go into a draft. And I've learned this the hard way, thinking I'm going zero RB, I'm going heavy RB, or else you're going to be sitting at the end of the first round going, I'm going heavy receiver. And some numbskulls took two receivers. At the end of the first round, you're taking Keenan Allen, who is a stud, but he's not a first round talent. And then at that point, if you're taking Keenan Allen, you're leaving some great running backs on the board.
Oh yeah, it's hard to go into your league with or your draft with a certain strategy and not being able to pivot. I mean, you got to go through all different kind of scenarios. That's why I like when it gets a little closer, I'll start doing the mock drafts on the app. Just to get as many different options as I possibly can. Because like I will pick 10, 11, 12 if you're at the back end of it. I mean, there's solid running backs that are going to end up being number one guys. Like I said, I'm high on Antonio Gibson, and I wouldn't be hesitant to probably take him right around that time. I think he's going to kill it. But yeah, like redraft, I'm more of a heavy RB guy. I like those workhorses as much as possible.
Yeah, and I'm being slowly convinced. The only other guy I would probably at this point jump with heavy RB there at the end with you. And on Dynasty, I'm not even discussing it because we 100% agree. It's wide receiver heavy. 10 years versus 2 years.
Yeah, I don't even like taking RB. It makes me feel sick to my stomach taking a running back early. I'm like, this guy isn't even going to be on my team in 2 years.
Yeah,
I can't waste a high draft pick on that because I'll churn through them like crazy. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the running back, but I'm always looking for that next big thing running back. I don't like the guy that's been there a couple of years because the cliff is coming, and I don't want to be the guy that's caught, jumping off the cliff with them. I'll get rid of them before that ever happens.
As with any of this, though, know your league mates, know your league rules. If you know your league mates are going to do something numbskullish or your home league, somebody's going to take a quarterback in the first 2 rounds, then you know that you can sort of zag with some of these guys. You might not have to you might say, hey, I'm going to get an RB in the second round, but then like three numbskulls take a quarterback. Well, guess what? All the way sliding to you is Devontae Adams. We'll talk about him too at the mid second round. I don't know if I could pass up Devontae Adams versus getting a J.K. Dobbins at that point, knowing that coming back around, I could get a decent running back and have Devontae Adams possibly. It's really knowing your league, knowing your rules, and that's the key to any of this league mates, rules, and where you want to be. So dynasty is different than redraft, but do your research, listen to lots of the couriers,
Absolutely.
and we won't guide you wrong. We're not going to try to trick you. We were talking about some guys before we started the podcast, and we said, hey, we better go check and see if they're available in our leagues, and they weren't. So good job, guys. But we're going to move on. That's our verses today. So you got to decide for yourself. Are you zero RB? Are you heavy RB? Or realistically, probably somewhere in between is what most people are. There are a lot of the league insiders are generally heavy RBs is what I'll listen to them. But we're going to move on from the RB to the most important position in football. And last week we talked about one quarterback leagues. It makes it least important. But we're really thinking generally most people do two quarterback super flex. It's the new hotness. We're going to talk about quarterbacks today for our main segment. We're going to talk about each of us has a guy that we love, and there's no real rhyme or reason why we love that guy, but we're just going to try to sell you on that guy, why that guy should be on your team. And then we're going to go into a couple of comparisons between players. We don't really want to call it sleepers because sleepers aren't as much sleepy anymore because everybody listens to I mean, us numbskulls, we have a podcast. We're just two guys talking. We don't get paid to do this. So sleepers, everybody talks about, everybody knows them, but we're going to compare some quarterbacks that aren't the top of the line guys you would think about, but guys that we think could in the long run help your team for one reason or another as we're going. So how about you tell us who you're in love with? Who's your fantasy quarterback crush right now?
Well, my fantasy quarterback crush is probably a lot of people's fantasy quarterback crush. I mean, he's like you say, he's a new hotness. It's Trevor Lawrence. I'm just excited. I mean, he's been the number one guy since his junior year in high school. Number one guy in college. Coming right into the NFL, I feel like he's already people claiming he's the number one guy. I think it's just all there. I mean, his talent is there. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about the guy. Not a lot of faults in his game, from what I gather. Just comes into college, wins a championship, barely loses, comes into the NFL. Granted, it's probably be a little harder in the NFL. He is going to Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville will take a big step this year going forward. I think he can come in and make a lot of people better. I think DJ Chark might take that next step to being a top guy. Chenault has the opportunity. But yeah, I think he's coming in. I think he's just going to continue what he's doing his whole football career and being the man. I think he'll come in right away and be just as good a season as possibly Justin Herbert had last year.
I'm love me some T Law. Herbert, that is a high bar. That's what we're talking about, the old comparing receivers this year to Jefferson. So I mean, I got some T Law. I got no love lost for T Law. Now you have the new hotness you're looking for. Well, my guy is pretty much everybody's ex-girlfriend that they don't want to call anymore. They defriended on Facebook. They got her number off the phone. But I tell you what, for some reason, I've got some love for Carson Wentz. He's if you're listening to the podcast, you can't see JJ Wang's face. It was one of those like, yep, that's his ex-girlfriend right there. I'm telling you. But I have always been a Wentz fan since he came in. I was able to get him in my OG Dynasty League. I traded away, I believe it was Clark, tight end for the Colts to get the pick so I could grab Wentz. So he's been on my team. I did just trade him away so I could acquire Jamar Chase. But Carson Wentz is one of those guys that, there's those players that you like and you don't know why. They're just those guys you like, and there's nothing stellar about them. But if Carson Wentz didn't have like some weird injuries, he would have a Super Bowl ring. Carson Wentz, he last year, everybody's like all down on Carson Wentz. He's had 15 interceptions. He fumbled the ball all over the stinking place. It was a mess. I watched him play a couple games. The dude looked like a deer in headlights. And the only way any quarterback was going to succeed on that team is if they could run for their life. And Jalen Hurts ran for his life. Carson Wentz, in the grand scheme for fantasy, if you don't have a league where you get -4 for interceptions, then you were fine. Like I would look at it until he was benched. He was still putting up decent numbers for me. Dude still threw for 2,600 yards and 16 interceptions in those games that he played, but he looked like he was getting crushed all offseason. All I said is, I know he's not going to be an Eagle. I hope he is a Colt. And lo and behold, they listened to me. They took him back to the only man that I think could refocus his career, and that's Frank Reich. Frank Reich, for those of you that are our age, we remember him as destroying the Houston Oilers, hope of doing anything successful with just that amazing, amazing game. But Frank Reich is probably the Carson Wentz's quarterback whisperer, for sake of any other way to put it. I just think this pairing is going to just give Carson Wentz a second stage of his career. I think the Colts made a great decision. Carson Wentz has a nice young weapon there in Pittman. If Paris Campbell can stay healthy, he could stretch the field. Yeah, you got Gigantor there on tight, and weapons will come over time. And Carson doesn't have to be Peyton Manning. He doesn't have to be Andrew Luck. I mean, Andrew Luck with that team came in on fire, throwing over 4,000 yards that first season. He doesn't have to do that. He just has to be in there. He's got to game manage with Taylor there, just running his brains out. And Carson's good enough that I don't think they have to wear out Taylor. Carson can dump off to Hines. Speaking of those late round running backs you can get for peanuts that you want to do with the zero RB theory. And do I expect him to be top 10, maybe even top 12? No, but maybe he's in that next tier of players that I'll take him in a 2-quarterback league as my number 2 quarterback and walk away smiling and happy this year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So if all you're doing is relying on him as your number 2, then that's fine. I mean, like I'm on the fence with this guy. I mean, I'm teetering. I mean, I could fall off either way. I mean, he could, like I said, he's not going to be asked to do everything in Indianapolis. I mean, that Eagles team was dreadful. They had nothing going on. He looked so bad out there. So bad. But yeah, so he's going to come in here. Frank Reich knows the guy. So, I mean, they got that good relationship. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to run the ball a lot. I think the Colts are going to run the ball a lot. And I think it's going to be Nyheim Hines catching the ball a lot out of the backfield. So, he drops back, makes that quick decision. And I think Michael Pittman is going to have that solid Alshon Jeffrey type year. And like I said, it could go either way. Like, I don't expect a lot from him. I think like maybe that 15, 16, 17 range quarterback. Like I don't even think the upside as a top 10 quarterback is really even there, because I don't think that team is going to pass a whole lot. I think they're going to rely on the run game, play great defense, and I think they're just going to ask, hey man, just don't go out there and lose this game. Don't go out there and throw 15 interceptions like you did last year. Just go out there, make smart plays. We'll be all right. I'll take care of the rest. You just, go out there and make some good plays.
And he's also behind the number 2 ranked PFF line in the league. So that's going to keep him upright. He's not going to have those giant eyeballs. I'm still scrolling down trying to see where the Eagles rank. I'm at 28. They're still not there. 29, 30, 31. Oh, look, he's not going to be behind one of the most horrible lines in football. He's behind the number 2 ranked line, which is why Taylor's going to be a stud, why he's going to be upright. And top 10 is a ceiling for me, because it realistically, to be a top 10 quarterback in the league, you got the elite 5, and then we look at 6 through 20. It's a matter of a few touchdowns or a few interceptions. So if he goes standardly, he throws less than 10 interceptions. I was looking over the years, there's like 7, 7, 7. So if he only throws that many interceptions and he can throw 20 couple touchdowns, that lands him right up there in that QB1 discussion, which is funny to look at and funny to think that he doesn't have to do a lot to get there. He just has to be smart.
Yeah, as I said, just go out there and make smart plays, solid plays. I mean, Phillip Rivers is 97 years old, and he looked decent.
Okay.
He looked decent at times, but like I said, he's just got that noodle arm. He really can't do much anymore. But I think there's a chance. I mean, I'm not completely out on him. Like I would take, like I said, I would take him as my number 2 quarterback going into it and be happy with it.
So, yeah, those are the guys we love. Now we're going to go into two pairings of guys that could win you a league, or if you make the wrong choice, lose you a league. First, we're going to go down to New Orleans. They just lost my favorite player in the league for the last decade. I was a big Drew Brees fan, loved me some Drew Brees. My wife actually went to school with Drew Brees' left tackle from the Super Bowl. And so I was always like, dude, call up Bushrod, be like, hey, get an autograph. She wouldn't do it for me, but it was always kind of cool to be like, I know the guy, I've met him. Like, dude is ginormous. Showed me a Super Bowl ring. It was pretty money, but Drew Brees is my favorite quarterback. I don't know why. He was another one of those guys. I liked him from Purdue. My buddy and I were always Drew Brees fans. I liked him when he got drafted by the Chargers, and then when he didn't come to my Dolphins, I understood because there was that shoulder and it was questionable. Boy, were we wrong. And Nick Saban's now trying to blame that on why he totally screwed over the Dolphins. I think that's baloney. I think Nick Saban's just a jerk. So we'll move on from there. Sorry, all you Alabama fans. We just lost 7 followers. But, you're on bandwagons anyway. Who cares? But with the loss of Drew Brees, we're going to talk about Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. One of those guys, I've heard a rumor of both of those guys, that's a big mess, are going to be the quarterback. Both of us have some Florida State love back in the day, rooting for some of the Knowles teams. Tell me, Mr. Wang, there, why do you think Winston is the man for the job?
I think Jameis Winston is just a better quarterback than Taysom Hill. I think Taysom Hill is a great athlete, obviously. He can do it all. But I think keep Taysom Hill in that weapon status, keep him on the field, being able to run and pass and catch whatever. And then have Jameis back there being able to be that pocket passing quarterback. Does he like to take risks? Sure. That's just what he is. But maybe Sean Payton can reel that in a little bit. Be like, hey, man, if it's not there, just don't be afraid to dump it off to Alvin Kamara in the flat or whoever one of those other wide receivers is. But watch for Adam Troutman coming across the middle because he will be wide open. Throw it to that guy. But no, yeah. So, if he could just reel in those interceptions, I know it's going to be hard because he threw 30 of them that one year. He likes to sling it. That's Jameis. But he got that LASIK surgery, so he might not be seeing 3 people out there. He might be seeing the right guy. I've seen some of his training videos. Those training videos are intense. It looks like he's really putting in work out there. But, yeah, I think Jameis is just a better quarterback. Keep Taysom in that weapon role. And I think you got a chance if Michael Thomas when he comes back from his injury. Still don't understand why he waits till June to have the surgery. But that's neither here nor there. But I think Jameis could be solid for you. Be that QB2. With upside, I think Jameis has that upside more than Carson Wentz would, just because of the slinging identity that Jameis has. Which one do you think is going to start on that?
Well, who I think is going to start and who I'm going to talk about is a totally different discussion here. I actually know I might go with you. Like Jameis, that 1 year threw 5,000 yards. He might have thrown 30 receptions, 5,000 yards, and that's what the Saints do. The problem is this year he's throwing to until November. Traquan Smith is their number 1 receiver currently. Adam Troutman might not catch any balls because they're going to double team him because they know he's the best receiving threat. Because Peyton listens to our podcast. He's one of our 7 subscribers, and so he's got to be listening to us right now, saying, "Hey, dude, I agree with everything you say." Now, even though I do believe Jameis is a better quarterback, I also think Peyton thinks he is the god of football coaching. And Sean Payton loves Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill is a good dude. Taysom Hill, I've never realized how old he is. He's 30. He's not ancient. Quarterbacks can play apparently till 45 these days. Who knows?
Only one can do that.
But yeah, we'll see. Drew Brees, so we'll say 40. Brees is a little bit younger, a little bit older than us. But Sean Payton has this love for Taysom Hill. They're paying this dude $1 bajillion. Taysom Hill is a gadget player. When he played last year, the dude never threw for less. Well, he had the one. So he threw basically for about 230 a game. He had that one game of 78 yards, but that was the Denver defense. And he didn't have to pass because the Saints put up 31 points to the Denver's 3. So they're like, hey, here, just don't do anything. We're just going to stand here and finish this game and make you survive till Breeze can come back. But it's not, there's no rhyme or reason why I think Taysom's going to start other than Peyton loves him and Peyton made them pay him. Taysom, we were talking about comps prior to this game. To me, Taysom Hill is like a Tim Tebow that the coach believes in. He's not he passes better than Tebow, but that's the closest comp we can get because he can run. He's strong. The game where he threw more yards, he ran less. So if Peyton looks at the stats, he'd be like, wow, if I want Taysom to be successful, he's got to stay in the pocket. He's got to not run. And all the news coming out this week has me scared that Taysom's going to start. I have Jameis on one of my dynasty teams, hoping he was going to be my sneaky. I got him for pocket change in our auction draft, hoping that he would be my sneaky in case Deshaun Watson goes to the Eagles and Jalen Hurts isn't worth anything. He was going to be my starter, but now I'm getting a little scared that Taysom's going to take over the role, not because he's better at quarterbacking, but because he's a rounded athlete and Sean Payton loves him. And Sean's like, hey, you've sat here, you've done everything for me. I want to give you a chance.
Yeah, but you also got to remember it's training camp hasn't even started yet. People need something to talk about. Nobody has any idea what Sean Payton's thinking. I don't care what source they have or anything. I feel like this is going to go back and forth like until the season starts. Just so the team can maybe hold that competitive advantage over that first team they play. If they don't know who they're going to start at quarterback, then maybe like, well, who do we plan for? I mean, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult. Now you know what each quarterback can do, but I mean, if you got a plan for each of them, that practice leading up to the game is going to be a little tougher. So I think it might be like a little chess match going on there. I think Peyton knows who he's going to start. I don't even think that's a doubt. He's not going into if he doesn't know by now, he's got a problem. He's an NFL coach that has been around the business for a really long time. So he knows who he's starting. He's just not going to play his cards. It just doesn't make any sense. When you're playing a game of poker, you don't turn the cards around and be like, hey, look what I got. No, you keep your game face on, and then you announce who your starting quarterback is the night before. Why not? If you can do it.
No, the problem for Peyton right now is he might have an ace in the hole, but the rest of his cards are 2s and 3s. Because we'll give Kamara a jack because he's getting a joker, or maybe a jack or a queen because he's getting older. But that's the problem he has. Like he's not tricking anybody. He knows these guys. If Jameis is a better quarterback, he's still throwing to nobody except for Kamara. I said what I said, and so yeah, if he's holding it there, I think he's like, oh man, I thought Breeze was going to play one more year so I could decide if Winston's the guy. I know Taysom. I think if they're smart, I think we both agree Winston should start and Taysom should be there. And the only person that really hurts, honestly, is going to be Winston and Kamara because Taysom, they're going to bring him in on the goal line. And as an NFL coach, I would definitely bring him in if I'm at the 2-yard line and say, do I want Kamara who's getting older to get beat up? No way, dude. Let's take this guy in here who's making what, 7, 8, 9, whatever. He's $7 million, something like that a year. Let him jump over. He's a good dude. Maybe if he's sitting, he's like, oh, look, I can dink it over to, who was it? Troutman? Is that what his name again? Yeah.
That's his name, Troutman. Yeah.
You can throw it over to there, but it's hard to tell. So with that's the New Orleans Saints. What we say basically is flip a coin. Now, moving on to our next, just 2 guys we're going to discuss are not guys that you will see. I think one of them's actually on your team. I got one. I've actually adamantly talked against, but we're putting them together as a pairing, and we're going to discuss why we think they could be that guy. These are almost guys that we're thinking that could sneak into. If you're in a 1 quarterback league, you can turn off and just fast forward the podcast actually to the next part. If you're in a 2 quarterback league, listen, because these could be guys that if everything falls right, fall into that second quarterback. Yeah. And we're talking about, who's your guy?
Well, my guy is Tyrod Taylor. And then, of course, to probably everybody's surprise, your guy would be Cam Newton. But I'll let you get to him in a second. Now, look, I'm not saying Tyrod is going to be great. That's really not what I'm getting at. I think Tyrod will be consistent. If you got to rely on Tyrod, your team's in trouble. Let's be obvious about that. So I'm seeing Tyrod as that QB3 type where you got your two solid starters and you got Tyrod on the bench, but and you know that when he comes in, he'll give you something. He does have a rushing floor. He will get you some rushing yards. Not the greatest passer, obviously, but the consistency is there. He's pretty much started everywhere he's been. A la Ryan Fitzpatrick. Not nearly as probably as good as Fitzpatrick, but you know, if if you need to fill a spot for a game or two, I think Tyrod can give you that game. Now the team is going to be awful, but I mean they got to get some kind of yards, right? I mean they can't go through the whole game and not get any yards. So like I said, he might have a rushing floor, couple rushing touchdowns, maybe. You never know. That running game isn't the greatest, but so I'm going to give you your chance to talk about your guy. Well, I've been waiting for this one.
And just real quickly before I hit on Cam, one thing going for Tyrod is the Houston coach David Culley was actually Tyrod. He coached Tyrod as he was when he was in Buffalo,
Oh, so
and
they know each other.
those are his best years. So it's a nice little stat. Like a lot of people, the new hotness for a while. This must be my word of the day was Davis Mills for a while,
I
and
do like me
then
some Davis Mills. I do like
but
me.
the more I hear Davis Mills sounds like he has that knee problem that people are going to worry about, and we'll see what he does. But he was their first pick in the draft, so that would be the only Tyrod fears that they go, hey, draft capital with our third round pick or whatever he was their
Yeah, it was
first
third.
round.
It was
Yeah, because
third
the
round.
Dolphins had all their picks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
fins
was
up.
third round.
So my guy, yes, you heard it right. If you've listened to this and it actually came up in one of our league threads, I don't like Cam Newton. Never have liked Cam Newton. Never will like Cam Newton. I had him on my team last year for about a month, I believe, and then I traded away Cam Newton right when he was running for all those touchdowns. But let's be realistic. Most of you who don't have an utter distaste for Cam Newton have had him over the years. He has won you games. He has gotten you rushing touchdowns. And in the new era of fantasy and quarterbacking, what wins you fantasy games are quarterbacks that run. If you look at the top quarterbacks, very rarely do guys sneak through like Drew Brees, who was a top tier quarterback for years without running the ball for anything. Now it is. You got the Murrays, the Mahomes, the Lamar Jacksons. Lamar Jackson doesn't throw for any yards, but he's still a top. Many still
The
consider him the
guy.
number two quarterback in Dynasty because the bounce back is so there for him. So Cam Newton, even though Cam is on the later part of his career, so he is 32 years old, he can't be any worse than last year. We are talking super deep here. We're talking guys that are probably more not really your QB2, but the guy you get for your bye weeks that if the balls bounce right could be your QB2. Cam can't be worse than last year. He's got better guys to throw to than last year. Like, who would have thought Aguilar would be that good? He was garbage in Philly. And then he goes and he has a great year. So is he a one hit wonder? Maybe. Is he not? I mean, Cam now has what is really the best weapon for a quarterback like him, two really good tight ends to throw to. So basically, you don't worry about blocking because Cam is big. Let him get hit. Take both tight ends, send him 5 yards, and then send him out. Boom. He's got both tight ends, or send one in, send one out with between Smith and Henry. So Cam's got better weapons than he had last year. Last year he ran for what was the how many touchdowns? I forget what the
14.
touchdown
I think it was
for
14.
a bajillion touchdowns. That's my number. And it was still and he still came in and looked decent. Now there's the Mac Jones there that you got to worry about. That Mac Jones might take him. It was a 12 rush touchdown, so good close call. I had a bajillion, so you're a lot closer than I was.
Yeah, I thought I was, well, at least I went over, so I can't win.
But Mac Jones is there, and I think whether Cam plays the whole season depends upon the rest of the team. The defense is going to be back and steadily. They're all off the COVID list. None of them played last year. They are in a division with the Jets, so there's 2 wins. They always will split with the Dolphins and Bills, no matter how good any of those 3 teams are. So there's 3, 4 wins. And then I think Cam plays the whole season because I'm not a Mac Jones believer. And I think Cam's stats are good enough to win you games when you need them, even though he will never start for me or play for me. So good luck to you guys. There's some advice. Take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Cam fan. Like I said, he does have that rushing potential, but watching him throw the ball last year, I mean, he had what, six passing touchdowns or something crazy. It wasn't a lot. I mean, your starting quarterback has that few passing touchdowns. There's something wrong. So I'm not really sure how far he's even going to get into the season. I think if you're going to draft a quarterback like they did, pick 15, I believe, that high, and if Belichick sees anything in Mac Jones, I think he'll get in there before the season's over. I just don't think Cam is going to be able to carry a team like he used to. He just can't. He's just not a very good passer. I think Belichick still wants to win. You know, I don't think he really cares about Cam Newton being fantasy relevant. I think he'd much rather win. So I think he's going to play the quarterback that gives him a better chance of winning. And if that happens to be Mac Jones, then fine. But I probably would lean towards Cam, probably starting all year. Like he's in the same mode as Tyrod. That QB3, you need somebody to fill bye weeks. Why not put in a quarterback that can rush for 3 touchdowns in any given week? You never know.
But Belichick hates rookies. Do you remember that? Belichick hates rookies.
Yeah, that's why Ramondre Stevenson isn't going to play this year, and Damian Harris is going to get all the touches. Yes.
Oh, bazinga. So that was our quarterback love and good luck quarterbacks for the week. Now we're going to move on. Our running back battle this week is due to a little bit of sadness that came earlier this week. This we'll call this running back battle the McVay's ego battle. And we're both big Cam Akers guys, Florida State connections. We both have him in dynasty leagues all over the place. But poor Cam Akers is out for a while. Tore his Achilles while training. So this you can't even blame this. They blame this usually all the injuries. Oh, we have too much practices, too much training. The dude was training. He wasn't at training camp. He was getting in shape for football. Cam Akers, we love you, man. We'll see you next year. I do want to revisit his value after we go through this. So maybe talk about a little value for Cam Akers there. But we now have a backfield of no names and former picks that everybody, a guy in my league actually took in the first round of a rookie draft that could be the starters for this year. We're talking about Henderson, Jones, Funk, Calais, and Anderson are the 5 running backs that are in the Rams backfield. How in the world is this going to hash out? This is an RB battle to monitor. Someone's got to do something. This team's going to be good.
Yes, I mean somebody's got to do something. I mean, or maybe several people will do things. I mean, you got. I think Henderson's obviously the big winner here. I mean, he's going to get that first go at it, but I don't see Henderson more than anything than maybe 12 to 15 touch guy a game. There's been an insane amount of talk on the Jones character, Xavier Jones, the guy they drafted last year. I think 5th round. I'm not really sure. But honestly, I think they're probably going to bring in a veteran running back here. I mean, if you lose a player for all year, you're definitely going to bring in a guy to replace him. I mean, I think that's going to make more sense. I know McVay does have a lot of trust in his system. Anybody could be decent, I believe, and I think Henderson will be a solid RB2 type. I just don't think he's going to get that workload like they were willing to give Cam Akers and those other guys. I mean, I'm not really too worried about any of them. They might get a little bit of run here just because of the lack of depth, but I still see them bringing in a more polished veteran. You got any veteran ideas out there you could possibly bring in?
I got my veteran idea. I'll throw him out, then I'll revisit some of these young guys here. My veteran idea that I threw out, and it made me kind of gross to throw it out, was Le'Veon Bell. We both agree that Peterson would be the easy plug and play. He's probably the best running back I've seen play for me personally, other than Barry Sanders growing up, just because of his size and strength and everything. And we talked about it earlier. Some of just the knuckleheadedness slowed him down a little bit, and he's only still playing because he's broke. Let's be honest. He would be retired enjoying a house in Cabo or something, but he's broke because he's a numbskull. And but Le'Veon Bell would sort of fill what they need because he is a dual threat running back. And in this system, they need a pass catching back and a pounder as well. And that's been Le'Veon Bell's MO for the years. He's mad at the Chiefs. He burnt a lot of bridges because he thought he was going to play last year and he didn't really play. Now, is that because they liked who they had? Is it because he's lost something? We don't know. It's sometimes there's different locker room dynamics. They're like, yeah, we just want to give this young kid some run. We know that you're older, or maybe he lost a step. But at this point, I'd bring him in for a tryout. If he even is half of a Le'Veon Bell and you can get him in there with Henderson, that would be a great pairing because really successful NFL teams rarely these are mostly made up of committees and give Henderson some of the carry, give Bell some of the carry. I did just get a share of Jones this week, but Jones realistically is just Henderson. So if we don't bring in Bell, it's going to be the Jones, probably Jones Henderson show. Sneaky little guy there is Otis Anderson Jr., who he has a buck 78, but that's the size of he would be a decent little scat back. I mean, where did Darren Sproles start playing? He's a Sproles-ish kind of guy, a little taller than Sproles by about half a foot, but he could be a sneaky back if you have space at this point in the year and you're on a dynasty squad. I would probably throw Anderson, Calais, Jones, Henderson, Funk maybe onto your dynasty roster and then drop them because you'll know who's going to play.
Yeah, I mean, there's no harm, and if you got the extra roster spots, there's no harm in definitely taking any of these guys just to give it a shot. Probably won't be able to get all of them, but I mean, take your choice, find one of them, give it a shot, see where it goes. Yeah, Le'Veon Bell would make a lot of sense. I think the offense works out better for him than like obviously like it did with the Jets because that was just a dumpster fire. And then when he went to the Chiefs, I don't think they ever really had any intentions of playing him. They just needed depth. I mean, Alaire was definitely their guy. Like they didn't have any much depth behind it, so they thought they'd bring in a veteran running back. And Le'Veon Bell, I guess, thought he was still Le'Veon Bell from 4 years ago. I mean, I think we all know that's not the case, but I think if you put anybody in Sean McVay's system, they're going to be pretty successful because that's just what people in McVay's system does. I mean, they're just successful. I mean, but they all those running backs have had their good games. I mean, Malcolm Brown had some good games. Akers definitely had some good games. Henderson's even had good games. So I mean, somebody's going to have a good game as a running back. You just have no idea who it's going to be.
And it could be a different guy every week. Who knows?
Different guy
Now,
every week.
to close out that, so the running back battle set basically, we can't give you a concise answer. Good luck. I told JJ Wang prior to this that in my dream world, they sign Peterson and Bell for $1 million each, and they just run them till they both break and see where they go. But the real winner in this is Matthew Stafford. He's going to now throw for 6 million yards.
Yeah.
But we both have Cam Akers in our dynasty. And we know there's going to be vultures coming in looking at Cam Akers. What would you do? What would it take for you to move Cam? Are you a hold on Cam? Where are you with Cam Akers? This is only dynasty. Obviously, if you draft him in a redraft, you're a moron. But what would you do with Cam Akers dynasty, or what are you thinking?
I mean, honestly, I would probably hold on to him. I'm not trying to get rid of him. I mean, I think I took him in the rookie draft with number 6. So I mean, I got a lot of draft capital there. I mean, it is an Achilles tendon. I think they're a little more skittish than that ACL. People come back from ACLs like zero issues these days, but that Achilles really scares me. So I honestly, I'm just going to hold on to him because what is somebody going to give me for Cam Akers right now? Because
A first?
I mean, if somebody was to offer me a first, I'd probably say okay. But like I said, I'm
Hot take.
probably going to hold on to him just because I know, like, I like the guy. I mean, I was expecting big things, and it kind of breaks my heart to see him go down like this. But like you'd have to catch me on the right day to say yes. If that means anything, you're just not going to be, hey, I'll give you a first for Cam Akers and expect me to take it. I mean, I'm going to have to think on that one. But I mean, there is a chance I would take it. And also, it kind of depends on where my team's at as well. If I need a running back, you want Cam Akers, I'll ship him right out. If I needed it and he hurt my team that bad. But I mean, like you said, you just don't know what's going to happen. He might never be the same. That Achilles is kind of scary. But like I said, I'm not looking to sell. I'm trying to hold on to him probably.
Yeah, that's the challenge you got to think is what do you feel about the Achilles right now? Is it gonna linger? Because I've heard anywhere from 8 months to a year and a half. Like there's no answer to this. So he could be there at some of the OTAs. or he could be playing. He could be Michael Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, are you willing to hold on to this guy for 2 years and him not even playing? I mean, there's a possibility that he might not play well this year and maybe not even next year. It depends. Are you willing to hold on to a running back that long if he probably may not play for another 2 years? I mean,
I
at
just
that
need to
point,
throw him on IR.
yeah, I guess. I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, like everybody was expecting big. Well, not everybody. There are a lot of people expecting big things. I mean, I was willing to take Cam Akers probably around that 8, 9, 10 mark. I mean, I was going to pick him before I would pick Derrick Henry. It'd go top 4 running backs, and then I'm like, all right, I may be looking at Cam Akers just because I think the volume's going to be there and the offense was going to be awesome. But
Yeah.
that got shot down real quick. So
Yeah,
that's
that was quite a
unfortunate.
shock. I'm sitting there walking around in the middle of the country this week, and I see Cam Akers. Somebody posted. I thought that was a joke. I saw it said 3M. I was like, oh, 3 months ago. So this is like a joke. Then I go, wait, that's minutes, isn't it? Oh,
It's
crushed after I thought I was in a good place with Cam Akers on my team.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But like I said, this kind of stuff happens, and this is the stuff you got prepared for. That's why depth is so important. You
Yeah.
better have those backup running backs if you plan on contending.
So let's close out with speaking of things that could be unfortunate. We're reading about Vegas sports books, and until you listen to this, this could be totally different. And this could have happened. So this is the unfortunate part of recording at different times in the week. But Vegas sports books are betting that Aaron Rodgers is going to retire sometime soon, prior to or during training camp. What do you think of that?
Man, you know what? I don't like last week when we talked about it. I was 100%. Him coming back. This does throw a little drama into the situation, but still have a hard time thinking he's going to retire. I just don't. I mean, this is just Aaron Rodgers not wanting to be at training camp. So I mean, he's just going to as long as he can. He's like, you know what? I'm 38. I don't need training camp, so I'm just going to let this drama play out. I mean, I guess there's a chance now that he could retire, but I just don't see it. I still see him playing for the Packers. Plus, the news with Devontae Adams, contract being cut off and him being a free agent after next year. So this could be the Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams swan song. They just come back for that final year and one more year, and they just go off in their separate directions.
Yeah, I always said Rodgers is going to be a Packer or he's going to retire. And this has me scared as a Devontae Adams owner on my really good team. A lot of the jokes on fantasy Twitter and radio and stuff were that, well, so basically Adams and Rodgers are just going to both go to some team somewhere together and just continue what they were doing. A lot of people are comparing the if Rodgers retires things to the Carson Palmer thing from a handful of years back, where he retired so he could get out of Cincinnati, then ended up. I mean, he had a couple more good years after that, especially when he was down in Arizona. I'm still where I was. I have no clue what this guy's going to do. I do know that he is a petty person, is what I'm gathering by reading about just simple things. Like he must really not like the general manager. And if I am a Green Bay, if I am the head of president of the Green Bay Packers, we're getting a new general manager. I don't care how good this guy is. We're getting, because there are a lot of good. There's only 32 general managers. There's got to be a 33rd one who's really good. This guy's going so I can have Aaron Rodgers into his 40s, because Rodgers turned down a 2-year extension. Maybe he wants a 3-year extension. That's fine. Get rid of the manager, give Rodgers $3 million, get 3 more years, making paid more than Patrick Mahomes, and let's win a Super Bowl or two, because our team is pretty stinking good. Somebody's got to give here, and I think that the general manager's got to go.
Yeah, that would be my choice. I mean, if I'm Green Bay, I'm trying to hold on to Aaron Rodgers, obviously. He gives me the best chance to win. And I think the Green Bay Packers are in the business of winning. This is what you do. You don't you don't force your best player out of town. I mean, you keep him in there. I mean, like, you just got to deal with him, what, 2 more years? Like, I agree with you. The general manager's got to go. I mean, what is this guy doing? He's ruined it with Devontae Adams. He's ruined it with Aaron Rodgers. He's putting his chips in for Jordan Love and what's the running back? AJ Dillon.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's who I'd much rather have. I mean, come on, man. You're a general manager of an NFL team, one of the greatest franchises in the sport, and you're ruining it. I mean, not too many GMs have a chance to win a Super Bowl. You have a chance. Like, get your head out of your butt and go say you're sorry and bring him back. Bring Adams back. I
They
mean,
tried that.
well, you know what? Say it again. Be
Fire
like,
him. Fire him. I'm saying fire him.
yeah, I would. I mean, if I was the owner of Green Bay, but then again, Green Bay doesn't have an owner.
That's
So
why I
what
said
are they going to
president.
do? Makes zero sense. It's literally the worst. I think that's the worst decision an NFL team can have, not having an owner. Who fires the guy? I mean, so he's pretty much the head guy in charge, you would guess, right?
There's probably a team president. There's probably like just like a business kind of thing. So yeah,
Well,
but just
this
wait. It's the year of Blake Bortles. He's gonna roll it. Blake the Snake is gonna be the man this year. So
right.
you might be listening to this going, Aaron Rodgers retired or Aaron Rodgers in training camp. Sorry for that wasting your time there. But as we close out, do remember we are trying to do a keep trash stash contest with 2 lucky fans of the Fantasy Couriers. You could be our first 2 fans. So if you like the Fantasy Couriers, leave us a question on Twitter at Couriers Fantasy. Send us an email to thefantasycouriers@gmail.com. Send a message on Facebook for the Fantasy Couriers, or send a YouTube comment on our most recent video. JJ Wang, take us out of here.
Yep. Great show. Have a great week. Trust yourself and trust the process.